We are talking about the cast being revealed for a new television dramatisation of Partygate. It's going to tell the story again of those notorious gatherings inside Number 10 during the COVID lockdowns. Would you watch it? I'm not sure it's for me.
Yeah, I would watch it.
Okay.
And I think what Channel 4 are going to do, right, so they're not going to have Kenneth Branagh in one of the recent dramatisations was superb, the way that they made him up with this. Boris Johnson, this time round, you're not going to see him. You're going to see the back of his head and the side of his face and whatever, and you'll hear his voice, and that voice will be from John Colshaw, the impressionist. But then they're going to intermingle all of that with real archive footage of the real Boris Johnson. So they reckon this will work very, very well. Anyway, are these a good way to hold politicians to account, or should we just move on from what a lot of you will see as Boris bashing?
Well, let's debate this. We're joined in the studio by the Tory councillor Mathew Goodwin-Freeman, who believes the dramas are ridiculous and they're biased, and the Showbiz reporter Ellie Phillips, who says they're fair and that drama is a great educational tool.
I like what you think, Ellie, about education, and I do think that a lot of people, they're not watching news, they're not reading newspapers, whatever. They've got to get this info from somewhere, and I can remember historically watching a lot of films on Elizabeth I or whatever it happened to be, Cromwell or whatever, for my school projects and things like that.
I think, 67.3% of the general population voted in the last election, and that's not that high. It's not horrendously awful, it's not that high. And I think we actually really need to engage more people in it, and especially the next generations. And if someone came to me now or when I was in school and said, here's a volume book about what's happened, and you'd be like, oh, I'm so bored. Whereas like, just sit and watch this drama. It's factual, it's based on evidence, and it's a dramatisation, it's entertaining. You're going to retain more of that information, and you're going to get engaged more.
You used the word factual. That is the big debate, Matthew, isn't it? Whether it's factual or not.
It's not going to be factual. I mean, we've already had the Partygate saga for how many years are we on it now? We don't need a drama about it. It's just a waste of time. It's digging up something in the past. What benefit are we going to get from it? And also, do they actually know exactly what went on? They say this meticulous research, but look, I think the public even got in a spin with what the media was saying about happening with Partygate. This is not going to fix anything. It's just going to dig up divisions.
I don't think it's about fixing anything. That's not the point of it. I mean, and they say it's based heavily on the Sue Gray report, which obviously is based on factual evidence, extensive research.
Brilliant committee that then went through that
Understood, but I think it's important that when you've got someone who's in a position of power, if they can't be held to account properly in Parliament because you can't call them a liar, they're actually using... I know he's not, but he was in power, and the things that he did massively damaged the country. And so I think it's important to hold them to account, and this, I think, is the best way of doing it. I'm just sad he's not going in the jungle, because I really want to see him eat bugs
Never
and stuff.
say never.
You know what I'm saying? But this, I think, is good, and also then to learn and to educate so we don't forget the mistakes that were made.
The things he did in power were deliver Brexit, deliver the fastest vaccine rollout in Europe, and steer the country through the worst pandemic in over 100 years.
Badly.
But there was no rule book for how to deal with it, so I'm not going to say it was perfect either.
And the amount of PPE that was bought that wasn't usable, and all of the contracts that went to people's friends. Like, it was ridiculous. Partying when people were in lockdown.
But the point of this series, is it's just going to be done for views. It's not going to be done on actual factual evidence. Also, the whole Partygate saga was about people getting in a spin about a piece of cake or sandwiches from a supermarket. Doesn't talk about the parties that are happening every single Friday from the staff in Downing Street whilst the PM was over in Chequers. But no, we're going to dig out
you don't know that, because we don't actually know the inside and outside of it. They could include that. And also, it's not just about a piece of cake in Downing Street. It's also about going home to pick up a karaoke machine to bring it back in, going to do a wine run to fill up the fridge while people were in lockdown and people were dying.
Do you ever think of entering politics?
No, my sister was an MEP, and my dad was a political devil's advocate, so I am quite aware. Yeah. I like just to stick to the light-hearted stuff, though, generally speaking. This is quite, far out for me, but yeah.
But where's the Sadiq Khan scandal? Well, I'll make that if anyone's watching. I'll happily make that with you, the Sadiq Khan series. Everything with ULEZ at the moment and his comments over the weekend.
Do I would watch that as well, but that's not what the focus of this is.
It's just biased. It's all Boris. We've had enough of Boris. He's not an MP.
Here's my question to you then, Matthew. If we've had enough of Boris, I presume as a paid-up Tory and as someone who clearly is a fan of Boris, you won't be buying his book then when it comes out?
I won't be, because it's not the point.
But he shouldn't be bringing out a book because we've had enough of Boris.
Well, what he wants to do in his private life is his choice. He's not an MP anymore. He's not.
Yeah, but this will also focus on Rishi Sunak breaking lockdown rules as well, and he is in power. He is literally our Prime Minister.
About what's happening right now that people care about, talking about ULEZ, talking about the cost of living, talking about the things that are impacting people at the next general election, not a former Prime Minister, a former MP who's not even a Member of Parliament anymore. You know, this series is not going to be, you know, level playing field. It's not going to be anything
How
like
do you know that, though? The Channel 4 themselves have said they're going to hold power to account in the most entertaining way, which I think is really important.
Way, not
because it is... No, but if you look at... Yes, but even the BBC say they're there to entertain and inform and educate, and that's the whole point of it. And by entertaining people, you educate them better.
BBC, utterly not biased at all, is it? You know, we love the BBC. I'm sorry, but this is just a waste of time, a waste of money. People will watch it. I shan't be watching it.
I don't agree.
Really don't
I
care.
think it's really useful.
What's good? How old are you?
24.
24. You're
No,
already...
I'm 23, 24.
Okay, you're already a Conservative councillor.
Yep.
And obviously, I'm assuming, listening to you and hearing your ability and whatever, that you have ambitions to be an MP.
I just want to make a difference to the local community.
Yeah.
I'm building a park at the moment. You know, that's the sort of stuff that I care about, making a difference.
You are building a park?
Yeah, we're converting a field into a park.
Could I say
in our local
something?
area.
I'm from Belfast, and if it wasn't for the Victorians or the Edwardians, where would our green spaces be? Because they're just now sold to developers who just build on them, and they don't supply the facilities and the amenities for all of these things. And I just think we, as a whole country around the UK, have such a debt to the Victorians and the Edwardians.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Because who's creating a park now, with the exception of you. So fair play to you on that.
You're more than welcome to come to the opening of it.
Can we cut the ribbon?
Well, we can sort that, absolutely. I'm sure we can sort that.
I'd get you a gig.
There you go. Perfect. Sorted. Thank you. Give me my agent. Right. So it's fair to say you won't be tuning in. Will you be sitting down and watching it? Because I know you're pretty switched on when it comes to all things showbiz and all things politics, as we're learning today. I mean, for me, I wouldn't watch this, not because I've got any political position, but just because,
You're bored out.
I'm bored.
Yeah, to be honest, This England, which was the one with which you mentioned, Kenneth Branagh, was really depressing, but I think it was released at the wrong time. I like this. It's being released during the Tory party conference in October, and I think that's really great timing because, again, it reminds people when they're there of the negative things that has happened, and also possibly, hopefully, the good things that have happened. I will definitely watch it, and I think other people should watch it as well because I think it's too easy for us to forget things that have happened, and then when it comes to the next general election, we're like, oh, well, there was all good things, and there was so much that wasn't good.
See, Ellie, again, you've gone up in my estimation as well. Just when I think I know everything about you and who you are and what you stand for, I realise, I suppose it's because the way I was very self-educated, I suppose that's unfair to say that, but I supplemented my education tremendously by watching television. People say television's rubbish. It's not rubbish if you pick the right things to actually watch. And my worry about dramas like this is that they become fact.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I can't understand all this retro-casting that goes on, that Queen Elizabeth I is portrayed as being black or whatever. That's very nice, that's very noble, but it's not true.
Yes.
And then you get young people who think, well, that was true, and they're totally confused.
Yeah, it's like the movie Belfast with the Asian corner shop. There wasn't a single Asian corner shop.
And there still isn't.
I think it's important when you watch things, they have the opening thing saying, this is based on fact, but there are fictional things in it, and they have to do that, and they will do that. So I think it's important to say that this is potentially an interpretation of what happened based on the facts.
But nobody is going to be thinking when they come to the ballot box at the next election, oh, do you remember that series about Boris Johnson and Partygate? Oh, that's the thing, it's about Boris Johnson. It's not about Partygate, it's about Boris Johnson. And then, oh, do you remember when it said at the start that this is based on facts, but it's not exactly. No one's going to be thinking that. They're going to take it as gospel. People have already come up with their minds about Partygate.
Well, Channel 4 have got very good left-wing leanings, haven't they? I mean, how are you going to expect this, Ellie,
we have to move on?
I mean, the thing is,
pro-Boris.
No, exactly. I'm not saying it's pro-Boris, but it is called Partygate, and there are other things that are going to be woven into it. And I think they're not. I don't think they want to do themselves a disservice and be open to the critics in that way. They're going to actually do a better job if they present something that is more equal and presents it as it was.
They'll do a better job if they work with me to do a series about Sadiq Khan or Keir Starmer or Commie Corbyn. If they do any of those, they'll go up in my estimation. And I'm more than happy to work with you on it. But any of those series, then they go up on my estimation.
Well,
At the moment,
there's a
Boris
challenge.
bashing.
Great meeting you. Mathew Goodwin-Freeman, he's a Conservative Councillor in Harrow.
Yep.
And Ellie Phillips, she just knows everything about everything.